Hey guys, welcome back. I'm going to try this again. Last week I had some pretty good responses. Everybody seemed to enjoy it. So I figured I'd do something a little different this week. Play around with it some more. I was able was able to record a little bit more this time. I figured out a few different things I need to do. But this week I'm just going to try to keep it simple with the bead head nymph. Nothing fancy. I don't do a lot of craziness. I don't feel skilled enough to be doing some of these flies you'll see that look exactly like the bug. I keep it pretty simple. I stick to feathers, hair, beads, wires, and flash. I don't go a whole lot with a whole lot of different things. So I hope you enjoy this one as well. So as I said, I'm going to keep it pretty simple to just a standard bead head nymph. Got all my materials already laid out. Size 14 nymph hook, black thread, white duck feather, pheasant tail, my beads, my dubbing, my lead-free wire, and my copper ribbing. So first thing I'll do is put a hook with a bead on my vise. So I've already placed my hook inside with the bead on it in my vise. So the next thing I'm going to do is take a little bit of thread from my bobbin, and I always wrap a little bit in front of the bead. This kind of helps keep from rolling it up onto the eye of the hook. Snip off my tag, run the bead up a little bit, and take the thread and we'll wrap underneath and behind it. I then flip a few more times around to help it kind of stay in place where I need it. And then I'm going to take a length of my copper wire for my rib material. We'll lay it the full length of the hook. I'm leaving plenty off the tag end. I'm going to attach that down with just some nice quick wraps all the way to the back and stop. Okay, that now has your copper wire. Next, you take your white duck feather. You just trim off a little bit from the feather right at the stem. Lay it to the side because you won't need it again. Kind of flex them up into where they're a little bit more even. Trim off the end of them so they're straight across. You then are going to place that, and this is going to equal up to about twice the length of your hook shank. You then attach it down, going all the way back to the top, to the front of the hook, and back down. Just kind of help hold those feathers in place. Next, you take the length of your lead-free wire. This is size 0.2. Snip it off. You're going to lay it just like you did the copper wire, full length of the hook, going actually up underneath the back of the bead. Just a few quick wraps to attach it down to where you need it, and back to the front with your thread. Pull your thread down out of the way, take your lead-free wire, and wrap it again opposite of your thread, going back up the shank of the hook. This is going to take a few wraps to get the length of the hook covered, but you're going to go up till you leave yourself about the width of the point, just a little bit over the point of your scissors open there. Once you get to that, you're going to wrap back down, and this is just to add a little extra weight and not cover too much of the hook for it, plus it creates a little bit of a hump for you. Once you're about halfway back down through there, covering the other half of the wire, snip it off. Everything is pushed down good. Now, you take your thread, you'll use it to secure the wire in place, just wrapping through it a little bit. A couple of times to the front, the back. There you go. Next, you're going to take your dubbing. Always use a little bit of dubbing wax and put on there. I think it just helps it hold it a little bit better. Let's go up and down it a couple of times just to get a little bit of that wax on the thread. Not a lot, just enough to kind of put a little bit of coating on the thread. Take your dubbing and kind of spread it out a little bit. Makes it a little bit easier to spin it on there. And you're just going to kind of wrap around. Just take your hands and just spread it on. Just spin it so it attaches down. What you want to do is try to get as thin as you can attached to the thread. Kind of spread it out a little bit if you have to. Just kind of keep twisting it until it's on there. Now, push that all the way up to against the base of the hook. Tighten your thread up. And while holding your dubbing, start wrapping it around until it starts catching. Then start to move. Once it covers, you've got enough there to cover the wire. Pull it down tight. Take your little bit of excess that you got here off. Just pull it down here and off. Once you get a little bit there, wrap it around one time to help secure where you pull that loose. Pull it up, snip it off right here, lay it down there because you're going to come back to needing that here in a little bit. Push everything back a little bit to kind of help shape it the way you want it to go. Now, take your length of copper wire and just wrap it like you did your lead-free wire, a little bit at a time. Give me just a second. Thread broke on my bobbin. I'll tie this back down real quick. It's easy to do. You just loop it in. Snip that piece of thread off. I'll just wrap this up, giving it kind of equal little parts all the way up through there. And all this is going to do is it's going to secure your dubbing a little bit more, plus give it a segmented looking body. Just go up till you get to the end of your dubbing, and then tie it off. A few quick wraps. Go in there, snip it off out of the way. Now, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to take you a little bit of section of pheasant tail. I do about a ½ inch worth. Trim it off. Kind of take it so the bend is going down. Make sure everything's kind of even. Trim off the ends. And you're going to lay that right in there like this. Holding it all together. You're going to do 1, 2, 3. Kind of attach it all in there. Straighten it up a little bit. Then take your little bit of dubbing that you pulled off earlier, if you didn't lose it. Just grab a little bit more here. You're going to spin this on there now. Doesn't take a lot. You're just going to cover that last little bit of area up using this dubbing so it blends it all together. Now the last step before you tie it all up, take that pheasant tail, pull it over to the top to where it's right up against that bead. Pull out any of the loose ones. Trying to keep it kind of even there. Now you're just going to tie it off in there. Once you get that tied off a little bit, just come down in here, right up against the edge, trim it off, and then make a few more wraps to cover it all up there as far as the end pieces. It's ugly, and I admit it, but it works for me. And just come back in behind. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2 quick whip finishes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Cut off and snip your thread out of the way. Now this little guy here, like I said, he's very generic looking. Doesn't really look like any kind of nymph, you know, any certain pattern. I'm not big on doing that. I'm not really trying to match as much as give general idea. Works, I think, better for me. Anybody else can do what they want. Then just take your little wire brush, just go in there and pull some of those fibers out. Make it look like little legs dangling down. This gives it a little bit more to it. You can take that brush with you when you go in the water. You can fix them up that way a little bit. And that is my little bead head nymph. I did figure out how to do it, so at the end of this video, I will have the material list put up there. Thanks, guys.